The night before Emily Carter's wedding moved faster than she expected, even though the house itself felt frozen in time. Snow slid down the windows of her childhood home in Vermont, tracing thin white lines like quiet reminders that everything was changing. Inside, the air smelled faintly of pine and clean laundry. The wedding dress hung in the corner of her old bedroom, wrapped in a protective cover, waiting for morning. Emily stood near the window, holding a cup of tea she had already forgotten to drink. Her thoughts racing ahead to vows she had practiced but not yet fully felt. Tomorrow, she would marry Daniel Brooks. Daniel was calm where she was restless, steady where she sometimes drifted. He loved her with clarity, without games or confusion. She trusted him. She chose him. Still, as midnight drew closer, her chest felt tight, as if her heart was walking a little faster than the rest of her. She told herself it was nerves. Weddings did that to people. Big moments always stirred old feelings. She turned away from the window, ready to finally sleep when the sound came. A knock, not loud, not rushed. 3 careful taps on the front door. Emily froze. Her parents were asleep upstairs. The house was quiet, deep in that stillness that only comes late at night. Daniel had promised not to see her until the ceremony. No one else would. Come this late, especially with snow falling this hard. The knock came again, slow and patient. Her pulse jumped. She moved through the hallway, her socks whispering against the wooden floor. At the door, she paused, one hand on the knob, listening. She felt a strange pull, a sense that opening this door would change something. Even if she didn't yet know what, she opened it. Cold air rushed in, carrying snow and silence. 3 men stood on the porch, framed by the soft yellow porch light. Emily's breath caught. The first man was Michael Hayes. She recognized him instantly, even after all these years. He was her first real love, the one who taught her how powerful feelings could be. His face looked older now, sharper around the edges, but his eyes were the same serious, thoughtful, full of things unsaid. Next to him stood Andrew Miller, taller, broader, with familiar calm in his posture. Andrew had been her closest friend once, the person who knew her habits, her moods, her fears. Their almost love had lived quietly between jokes and long talks, never crossing a line but never fading. The third man stood slightly apart. Lucas Reed, seeing him, felt like opening a book she thought she had finished. Lucas had entered her life during one of her hardest years when everything felt unstable. He had helped her find her footing again, then stepped away before their bond grew too deep. For a moment, none of them spoke. Snow gathered on their coats. The night seemed to hold its breath. "What are you doing here?" Emily asked softly. Michael shifted his weight. "We know this is strange," he said. "We won't stay long." Andrew glanced toward the dark street. "We just needed to see you. Tonight." Lucas met her eyes, his expression serious, almost careful. Emily stepped outside, pulling the door closed behind her to keep the noise from carrying through the house. The cold bit through her sweater, grounding her, reminding her this was real. The porch felt smaller than it ever had, crowded with memories she hadn't invited. "Is something wrong?" she asked. "No," Michael said quickly. "Nothing like that." Andrew nodded. "You're getting married tomorrow." "We know." Emily swallowed. The word tomorrow felt heavier now. Michael spoke again, his voice steady but tight. "We didn't plan this together. Just happened. One call led to another." Lucas added, "We weren't sure you'd even open the door." Emily crossed, her arms trying to calm herself. "You can't just show up like this," she said, though there was no anger in her voice, only surprise, confusion, and something deeper she didn't want to name. Michael looked at her carefully. "We won't ask for anything, we promise." The snow fell harder, soft but relentless. Emily hesitated, then gestured toward the porch steps. "Sit," she said quietly, "before someone sees you." They sat, the wood coal beneath them. Emily remained standing, unsure if she needed distance or closeness more. Michael took a breath. "I heard you were engaged," he said. "I told myself it didn't matter, that it was your life and you were happy." Andrew added, "And you are happy." We can see that Emily nodded slowly. "I am." Lucas's voice was calm. "Then we'll keep this simple." Michael leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees. "I never thanked you," he said, "for loving me when I didn't know how to return it properly." Emily's chest tightened. She had buried those years under new memories, but they were still there, quietly waiting. "You don't owe me thanks," she said. "I do," Michael replied, "because you taught me what love should feel like. And I spent years trying to be worthy of it." Andrew spoke next, his words measured. "I stayed too quiet. I thought being close to you was enough. I didn't realize that silence can still be a choice, and sometimes it's the wrong one." Emily felt a rush of warmth and sadness. Andrew had always been like this, gentle, honest, careful with his words. Lucas looked up at the sky. "I left because I was afraid," he said. "Not of you, of myself. I didn't want to bring you into a life that wasn't steady." The porch felt heavier now, filled with truths that had waited years to be spoken. Emily listened, her heart moving faster, but her mind clear. She realized something important in that moment. None of these men were asking her to turn back. They were not here to disrupt her future. They were here to close their own chapters. "You came to say goodbye," she said. Michael nodded. "Yes," Andrew added properly. "Lucas said before tomorrow makes it impossible." Emily sat down at last, the cold seeping through her jeans, anchoring her in the present. She thought of Daniel again, how he would probably be asleep. Right now, trusting her, trusting tomorrow. "You all mattered to me," she said. "At different times, in different ways." Michael smiled softly. "That's all we needed to hear." Snow fell between them, quiet and constant. The night pressed forward, no longer paused. Emily knew this moment would stay with her, not as a regret, but as a reminder of how many paths had led her to where she stood now. Inside the house, the clock struck once, marking a new hour. The wedding day was closer than ever, and the past, standing beside her on the porch, was finally ready. To let her go? The night on the porch stretched, but it didn't feel long. Emily Carter sat on the bottom step, her hands clasped around her knees, watching the snow fall silently around the three men who had unexpectedly returned to her life. Michael, Andrew, and Lucas had shared space in her memories for years, but now they were real again, real in the cold air, real in the weight of words that had never been spoken. She could feel the chill creeping through her clothes, but it didn't matter. Cold outside couldn't compare to the warmth and tension inside her chest. Michael shifted, brushing snow from his coat, and spoke first. "Emily," he began carefully, "there are things I never told you, things I should have said when I had the chance. And now, seeing you here, knowing tomorrow you'll be married, I need to say them." He paused, choosing his words with care. "I loved you more than I realized at the time. I was too scared, too young, too full of pride to show it properly. And I walked away because I thought you deserved better than what I could give. But I needed you to know you were my first love for a reason. You were important. You still are." Emily blinked, her chest tightening as a lump formed in her throat. Memories rushed in, vivid and raw. She remembered late nights at the college library, the way he had held her hand when she was nervous about her exams, the long walks in autumn leaves when they had talked about everything and nothing. She had thought those years were over, closed, neatly with time, but hearing him speak brought all of it back, unpolished and real. She didn't speak, only listened, her heart shifting with each word. Andrew, sitting next to Michael, leaned forward and exhaled slowly. "I've been quiet for too long," he said. His voice was soft, almost hesitant, but it carried the weight of honesty. "I was always afraid of losing you, afraid of ruining what we already had. I kept my feelings locked up, thinking that by staying your friend I was protecting you, and somehow protecting myself. But the truth is, I've regretted it every single day. Seeing you now, about to make a promise to someone else, I realized that I needed to speak before it was too late. Not to change anything, not to ask anything, but to tell you that I loved you, even quietly, and I always will care about you. Emily felt tears sting her eyes. Andrew's words were different from Michael's. They were quieter, gentler, more filled with the weight of years spent watching her happiness from the sidelines. She had loved Andrew too, in a different way, the safe and familiar kind of love that sometimes hid under laughter and late-night phone calls. His honesty brought a warmth to the cold porch. A reminder that love can be many things, not always dramatic or loud. Lucas shifted last. He had been silent for most of the evening, and Emily had noticed the tension in his shoulders, the careful way he measured his words. Now he looked directly at her, his blue eyes reflecting the snowlight. "Emily," he said softly, "you remember the time I showed up when you were struggling, when life felt impossible? You helped me find my footing. You made me believe I could start again. I left because I thought it was better for you than to stay better to protect you from the mess of my life. But leaving didn't mean I stopped caring. I loved you in my own way, deeply, and maybe foolishly. I needed to tell you that, even if it makes nothing change tomorrow. Even if it only lets me leave knowing I've been honest." Emily listened as Lucas spoke. His words brought back late-night drives, long talks in empty coffee shops. Moments where her laughter had mingled with his in ways that felt effortless. She remembered the comfort he had given her, the small acts of kindness that had meant so much, the way he had left before things could grow complicated. She had always respected that distance. But hearing him confess finally made the feelings she had buried rise again, not as longing, but as recognition of how much he had shaped her. The porch felt alive with emotion now. Snow fell around them, soft and constant, but it was nothing compared to the intensity of words that had been held for years. Emily's heart raced, but there was no panic, only clarity. Each man had mattered to her in a different way. Each had shaped her into the woman who now stood at the edge of tomorrow, ready to marry the man she had chosen. And in that moment, she realized something vital. None of this changed her decision, but hearing the truth gave her a freedom she had not anticipated. She spoke then, her voice soft but steady. "I'm grateful," she said, "all of you, for the love you gave me, for the moments we shared, for what you taught me about myself and life. You were part of my journey, and I will always remember it. But tomorrow, I marry someone who is here now, who loves me for who I am today. I am ready to step forward with him, and I need to do that without regret." Michael nodded, a small, sincere smile forming. "That's all we ever wanted," he said, "to know you're happy." "That's enough." Andrew leaned back slightly, letting the words settle. "We just wanted to be honest," he said. "To release ourselves from the past without trying to interfere with your future." Lucas stayed quiet for a moment, then spoke in a whisper. "I'm glad I came," he said, "and I'm glad I left. You'll be fine, Emily. You're stronger than any of us ever knew." Emily felt the weight of years lift off her chest. Night filled with unexpected confessions and raw honesty had given her closure in a way she hadn't realized she needed. The men had come to say goodbye, and in doing so, they had allowed her to step into tomorrow fully, without doubt or hidden longing. One by one, they rose from the porch steps. Michael adjusted his coat and offered a final smile. "Take care, Emily. You deserve the world." Andrew gave a small nod. "Goodbye, Emily. Be happy." Lucas lingered a moment longer, his gaze meeting hers, filled with unspoken emotion. Then, he turned and walked into the night, disappearing into the snowfall. Leaving only quiet behind, Emily watched until the silhouettes of the men melted into the white night. The snow continued to fall softly around her, silent, pure, untouched. She felt an unexpected lightness, a sense of peace that had been missing for years. The past had been acknowledged, the feelings expressed, and closure had been achieved. She returned inside the house, closing the door carefully behind her. The familiar warmth of her childhood home wrapped around her like a blanket. She looked at her wedding dress hanging in the corner and finally smiled. It was more than a dress. It was a symbol of the life she had chosen for herself, a life built with intention, honesty, and love that was steady and sure. Emily climbed the stairs to her bedroom. For the first time in months, maybe years, she felt entirely ready. Ready to sleep, ready to marry, ready to embrace the future without shadows of the past lingering at her heels. She knew that tomorrow's vows would be more meaningful because tonight had been filled with truth, emotion, and release. As she finally lay down, the soft quiet of the house wrapped around her, mingling with the distant wind and falling snow. Her heart was calm, her mind clear, her soul at ease. The night had been unexpected, intense, and emotional, but it had been exactly what she needed. And with that, Emily drifted into a deep, peaceful sleep, ready to meet the new day with an open heart and a certainty she had never known before.